If you're a man over 60 and you've noticed things slowing down where it matters most, less drive, colder mornings, fewer firm awakenings, I need you to hear me now. The issue isn't aging. It's that your blood flow, the very system that once powered your energy, confidence, and intimacy, is shutting down silently. And here's the shock. For thousands of men, the breakthrough didn't come from a little blue pill or a prescription. It came from something most doctors overlook entirely, a single teaspoon of oil taken the right way each morning. I'm Dr. Mohit Kara, and for over 3 decades, I've helped men across the country restore their strength, stamina, and self-respect. Without gimmicks, without side effects. Just natural science working with the body, not against it. Now, I know it sounds too simple. 1 teaspoon of oil? Really? But once you understand how this activates nitric oxide, heals your blood vessels, and even supports testosterone production, you'll see why this forgotten morning ritual is quietly changing the lives of men well into their 70s and beyond. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how it works. The type of oil that heals, and the ones that harm. Why most men sabotage their results before they even begin, and how to stack 3 simple habits to supercharge your circulation, clarity, and confidence in less than 10 minutes each morning. Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal could unlock the flow, energy, and manhood you thought you'd lost. Before we begin, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell. That way, you won't miss a single tip designed to help you restore your energy, circulation, and confidence after 60. And if this message speaks to you, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0. Your feedback helps me create better content to serve you. All right, let's get into it. Because to truly understand how this simple morning oil ritual works, we first need to talk about what's quietly happening inside your body after 60. And it's something most men don't even realize until it's already affecting their energy, their clarity, and their performance. I call it the hidden crisis. A slow but dangerous decline in circulation that steals your vitality from the inside out. 1. The hidden crisis after 60. Why blood flow begins to fade. I still remember the moment one of my longtime patients, Frank, a 67-year-old retired engineer, sat across from me and said something that's stuck with me ever since. "Doc, I don't feel sick, but I don't feel alive either." He wasn't in pain. He didn't have a major diagnosis, but something inside him was slipping. A quiet loss of vitality, confidence, and energy that he couldn't explain. And I knew exactly what was happening. What Frank was experiencing wasn't just aging, it was a silent, gradual decline in his blood flow. A process I've seen play out in thousands of men after 60. The truth is, your circulatory system is the engine that powers everything. Your energy, your focus, your strength, and yes, your performance in the bedroom. But over time, especially as we age, that engine starts to slow. Your blood vessels become stiff. The smooth, flexible walls that once allowed blood to flow freely begin to harden. Your body stops producing as much nitric oxide, the very molecule that helps blood vessels relax and open. The result? Colder hands and feet, fatigue that hits earlier in the day, and a quiet but troubling change in your ability to feel like yourself as a man. Most men chalk it up to getting older, but I'm here to tell you, it doesn't have to be that way. Your body hasn't forgotten how to heal, it just needs the right tools and signals to wake back up. And that's exactly where this simple teaspoon of oil comes in. Because when taken the right way, it acts as a natural switch to reactivate blood flow from the inside out. Let me show you how it works. 2. The morning ritual that reawakens blood flow. When I first heard about men taking a teaspoon of extra virgin olive oil on an empty stomach each morning to improve their circulation, I'll admit, I was skeptical. I've built my career on science, clinical research, and evidence-based treatment. So the idea that something so simple could make a meaningful difference, honestly, it sounded like wishful thinking. But then I started paying attention. I listened to my patients, men like Harold, 68, who quietly started the ritual after we spoke and came back weeks later looking 5 years younger. He didn't need to say much. His energy spoke for itself. What began as a gentle experiment soon revealed something powerful. Men who followed this ritual consistently began noticing subtle, then significant, shifts. They felt warmer in the mornings, more focused, more awake in their own skin, and perhaps most importantly, more responsive in moments of intimacy. And it wasn't just them. I decided to try it myself. Just 1 teaspoon of high-quality, cold-pressed, polyphenol-rich olive oil before anything else in the morning. No coffee first, no food, just the oil. After a few days, I noticed I wasn't dragging through my morning routine. My thoughts were clearer. My body felt more primed. My wife noticed the change before I did. That's when I knew. This wasn't a placebo. This was blood flow waking back up. And if you add a small squeeze of lemon or a tiny pinch of black pepper, you take it even further, activating your liver, improving nutrient absorption, and setting the stage for deep cellular repair. But here's the key. Not all oils heal. In fact, most of what's on store shelves could be silently working against you. Let me show you exactly what to avoid and what your body truly needs. 3. What science says, why it works so well. I remember one night, long after clinic hours, sitting at my desk surrounded by stacks of research articles, trying to understand why this simple olive oil ritual was having such a profound effect, not just on my patients, but on me too. The changes we were seeing weren't minor. Men who had been tired, foggy, disconnected were suddenly clearer, warmer, more confident. And it wasn't just in the bedroom. It was in how they walked, how they spoke, how they engaged with life again. I needed to know the science behind it. That's when I dove deep into the role of the endothelium, the thin layer that lines your blood vessels. It turns out that layer is responsible for producing nitric oxide, the very molecule that tells your arteries to relax and open. When you're young, it works like clockwork, but after 60, that lining stiffens, becomes inflamed, and your ability to produce nitric oxide drops dramatically. That's when the problems begin: poor circulation, cold extremities, low energy, and yes, weaker erections. But extra virgin olive oil, especially the kind rich in polyphenols, does something remarkable. It restores endothelial function. It reduces oxidative stress, the silent damage that accumulates with age. It protects your arteries and even helps stimulate the Leydig cells in your testes, the very ones responsible for testosterone production. One study out of Italy showed that men who consumed this type of olive oil regularly had higher testosterone levels and better vascular health than those who didn't. This isn't about forcing the body into something unnatural. It's about giving it the nourishment it needs to do what it's always known how to do: heal, flow, and function like a man again. Now, hearing this from science is one thing, but hearing it from real men, men just like you, is something else entirely. Let me share a few stories that changed how I practice medicine forever. 4. Real men, real results. There's something powerful about hearing another man say, "I thought it was over, but now I feel like myself again." I've heard those words more times than I can count, spoken quietly, often with disbelief, from men who had nearly given up on the idea that things could improve. Not bodybuilders or fitness fanatics, just real men, husbands, grandfathers, veterans, men who had lost their fire, not because they were broken, but because no one had ever shown them how to reignite it. Take Harold. He was 68, a retired teacher, thoughtful and kind, but clearly burdened when he first walked into my office. "Doc, it's not just the bedroom," he said. "It's everything. I feel like I'm fading." I started him on the ritual: 1 teaspoon of high-quality olive oil every morning with lemon and warm water. Nothing fancy. 2 weeks later, he called me. His voice was lighter. "I woke up this morning feeling clear. My hands were warm. I rolled over to my wife and something just felt right." That moment, it meant more to him than any prescription ever could. Then there was George, 72 years old, a former truck driver with high blood pressure and years of frustration behind him. He didn't want another drug. He wanted to feel like a man again. Within a month of staying consistent, everything began to shift. His energy, his posture, his confidence. His wife came in for his follow-up and quietly said, "Thank you for giving me my husband back." These aren't isolated miracles. They're proof that when you give your body what it needs, it responds. But here's the part most men miss. This ritual only works if you do it right, and unfortunately, most guys get it completely wrong. Let me show you how to avoid the most common mistakes. 5. The most common mistakes men make and how to avoid them. Over the years, I've watched too many good men give up on this powerful ritual, not because it didn't work, but because they unknowingly did it wrong. And I'll tell you, that's one of the most frustrating things to witness as a doctor. These men were trying, they were hopeful, but no one had ever shown them the details that make all the difference. One man came in, excited to try the olive oil ritual. He'd gone out that same day, bought a bottle from the grocery store, and started taking it every morning, right after his bacon and eggs. A month later, he sat across from me, disappointed. "Doc, I haven't felt much change." I asked to see the bottle. It wasn't extra virgin, it wasn't cold-pressed, and it was labeled light. A refined oil stripped of the very nutrients he needed. It wasn't his fault. Labels are confusing, and the food industry doesn't make it easy. Here's what I tell every patient now. The oil must be extra virgin, cold-pressed, and high in polyphenols. That's what helps your arteries heal and your blood vessels open. Timing matters too. It has to be taken first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, no food, no coffee, so your body can absorb it directly and use it efficiently. And perhaps most important of all, you must be consistent. Skipping days or taking it every now and then won't create the momentum your body needs to repair and restore. When done right, this ritual becomes a message to your body. It's time to come back to life. And if you want to take it even further, to really supercharge your circulation, there are a few simple practices you can add to multiply the benefits. Let me show you how. 6. Stack the ritual. Boost circulation. Even further. Once you've committed to the olive oil ritual each morning, something shifts. You begin to feel it, slowly at first, like your body is remembering how to come alive again. But here's where things get exciting. When you add just a few focused practices right after the oil, everything starts to work faster. The results deepen. The energy builds. It's like your entire system starts sinking back into rhythm, the way it used to. One of the most powerful additions I teach my patients is something called 4-2-6 breathing. You inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 2, then exhale slowly for 6. Just 2 or 3 minutes of this simple rhythm calms your nervous system, opens your blood vessels, and puts your body into a healing state. I've had men tell me they feel clearer, more grounded, even emotionally steadier within days of starting. Then there's what I call the power stance. Stand tall, hands on your hips, feet shoulder-width apart, and take a few deep breaths. Sounds simple, right? But this one position actually lowers cortisol, the stress hormone, and helps gently boost testosterone. More than anything, it reminds you of your strength. It reconnects you with that quiet confidence that age can sometimes steal. And finally, a short morning walk, just 10 minutes outside in the sunlight, can do wonders. It wakes up your muscles, gets nitric oxide flowing, and sets the tone for your entire day. These aren't workouts, they're signals, reminders to your body that it's time to perform, time to circulate, time to live fully again. Now, you might be wondering, is this really just about better blood flow? Or could this ritual be affecting something even deeper, something tied to the core of who you are as a man? Let's explore that next. 7. The bigger picture. This is about more than erections. When most men start this ritual, they're focused on one thing, getting their performance back. And that's a perfectly valid reason. I get it. Feeling like you've lost that part of yourself can be painful in a way that's hard to talk about. But what's amazed me over the years is how often the men I work with end up discovering something even more powerful. Because as circulation improves, something else begins to return. Not just function, but identity. One of my patients, Alan, a 70-year-old former business owner, told me something I'll never forget. "Doc," he said, "I came to you to fix things below the belt. But after 3 weeks, I feel like my brain turned back on. And that's exactly what happens. Improved blood flow doesn't just affect one part of your body, it fuels your entire system. Your heart, your brain, your hormones, all of it runs on oxygen-rich blood. And when you restore that flow, everything begins to change. Suddenly, you're sleeping deeper, waking up with more energy, thinking more clearly. You start moving differently, speaking with more presence, reconnecting with your partner in ways you hadn't felt in years. And perhaps most importantly, you begin to feel like yourself again. Not just in private, but in everyday life. That quiet confidence returns, the steady energy, the sense of purpose. This isn't just about intimacy, it's about reclaiming your place in the world, as a man who still has strength, clarity, and drive to offer. That's why this ritual is so much more than it seems. It's a doorway back to the man you remember being. But even with all these benefits, it only works if you do it the right way. And sadly, most men are unknowingly sabotaging their results from day one. Let me show you how to avoid that. 8. Final words. 1 teaspoon can change your life. After walking alongside thousands of men over the past 30 years, I've learned something powerful. Your body wants to heal. Even after 60, even if you've felt numb, tired, disconnected for years. Deep down, your body still remembers how to come alive again. You just have to give it the right signal. And sometimes, that signal is as simple as a single teaspoon each morning. This ritual may look small from the outside, but don't let its simplicity fool you. When you choose the right oil, take it on an empty stomach, stay consistent, and pair it with a few mindful habits, you're sending a clear message to your body. I'm ready to come back. That 1 teaspoon becomes more than just a routine. It becomes a promise to yourself. To return to strength, to clarity, to confidence. I've watched men walk into my office discouraged, and just weeks later stand taller, speak with more power, and smile with a quiet sense of pride. Their wives notice. Their friends notice. But more importantly, they notice. Because the man they thought they had lost, the one who felt sharp, capable, and fully present, starts coming back. This isn't about chasing youth or pretending you're 20 again. It's about reclaiming the strength of the man you are now, with all the wisdom and fire you still carry, and it starts with one small step. So now the question is, are you ready to begin? Because in the final moments of this video, I want to leave you with something that could shift your next chapter entirely, and remind you that your best days might still be ahead. Let's bring it all together. Conclusion. The first step toward reclaiming your vitality. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this, it's that your body is not done. Your energy, your strength, your clarity, they're not lost, they've just been waiting. And sometimes, all it takes to bring them back is one simple step in the right direction. You've learned today how blood flow quietly fades after 60, and how that affects everything from your hands and feet to your focus and performance. You've seen how 1 teaspoon of the right olive oil, taken first thing in the morning, can begin to reawaken that circulation, support nitric oxide, and even help regulate testosterone naturally. You've heard the science. You've heard the stories from real men who've taken this ritual seriously and felt their lives shift in meaningful ways. You've learned the common mistakes to avoid and the 3 simple practices that can stack the benefits and help you feel like yourself again, mentally, physically, and intimately. But none of it works unless you begin. I've seen what happens when men choose to make this small, steady change, and I've seen what happens when they don't. 1 teaspoon won't change your life overnight, but done with care, it becomes the first quiet promise you make to yourself, a signal that you're not done yet. So the only question left is, will today be the day you begin? Because the next chapter is still waiting. And it might be stronger than you think.